The sun filtered gently through the thin lace curtains of a modest one-story home nestled on the outskirts of Indianapolis. The kind of morning that felt like a memory, soft, slow, and silent. Inside, 84-year-old Hattie Daniels sat at her kitchen table, a steaming cup of black coffee warming her weathered hands. Her back curved slightly with age, and her eyes, though faded with time, still held a spark, a quiet resilience. Her home was humble. Nothing grand. The paint on the walls had long since dulled, and the wooden floor groaned beneath every step. But every creak, every crack, held a story. A whisper from the past. It wasn't just a house. It was a vessel of her entire life. Hattie had lived there for over 50 years. Alone, but never bitter. Lonely, but never hopeless. Her days were simple now, coffee in the morning, tending to her small vegetable garden in the afternoon, and flipping through photo albums at night. Each photo, a window into a past filled with joy, heartache, and above all, service. The life of giving. Hattie had spent her entire adult life as a nanny. Not just a babysitter, but a second mother, a nurse, a teacher, a protector. She raised children that weren't her own while juggling the needs of her own family. Her mornings began before dawn, ironing school uniforms, making breakfast, packing lunches. Her evenings stretched long, helping with homework, soothing tantrums, reading bedtime stories until her voice cracked. Most of the families she worked for barely acknowledged her sacrifices. To them, she was just the help. But there were exceptions. Children who looked past the uniform, past the routine, and saw her. The woman who showed up when no one else did. Who gave love without conditions. One boy in particular had always stood out. Elijah. The little boy who remembered. Elijah was only 5 when Hattie first met him. A small, bright-eyed child with a too-wide smile and a quiet desperation in his eyes. The kind of hunger that had nothing to do with food. His parents were always gone, work, social events, meetings, trips. They were polished, poised, and entirely absent. Hattie became his anchor. She remembered braiding his hair when it got wild. Stitching up his jeans after he'd fallen from trees. Sneaking an extra pancake onto his plate when she knew he'd had a hard night. She cheered at every school play, every little league game, sitting front and center because his parents never did. She called him her little lion because he was brave, even when he didn't feel it. And then, life moved on. Elijah's family moved away. The calls stopped. The letters faded. And decades passed. Still, Hattie prayed for him every night. She didn't know that across the country, Elijah Harper had become a name people did remember. The man he became. Now in his 40s, Elijah Harper was a self-made billionaire. A tech visionary. One of the most influential black entrepreneurs in America. He was featured in magazines, invited to speak at universities, and hailed as a modern-day success story. But there was a part of that story the world didn't know. Behind the empire, the headlines, the flawless suits, was a boy raised not by privilege, but by love. Quiet, invisible love from a woman no one talked about. Until one day, while sorting through old boxes in his penthouse, Elijah found a photograph. A small, faded picture of him sitting on the porch steps of his childhood home, Hattie's arms wrapped around him, both of them smiling. A real smile. The kind that doesn't need words. In that moment, something shifted. He realized he'd never thanked her. Never told her what she meant to him. Never even visited. And that had to change. The homecoming. Elijah's private jet touched down in Indianapolis on a crisp spring morning. His assistant offered to schedule a meeting. He declined. "This is personal," he said. As the sleek black car pulled up to Hattie's modest home, Elijah felt something he hadn't in years, nervousness. His hands shook slightly as he stepped out, bouquet of lilies in hand. He wasn't sure she'd recognize him. Or forgive him. Inside, Hattie sat by the window, sipping her second cup of coffee. She noticed the car. At first, she thought it was a delivery or a city official. But when the tall, sharply dressed man stepped out, there was something about the way he walked. Confident, yet careful. Familiar. When he knocked, she opened the door slowly. "Elijah," she whispered, her voice cracking. He smiled, tears in his eyes. "Hi, Miss Hattie." She dropped the cup. It hit the floor and rolled. But she didn't notice. Her eyes stayed locked on his face. Then, without a word, she pulled him into her arms. Just like she used to. The thank you she never asked for. Inside, they sat across from each other, time folding in on itself. The years melted. The floral sofa, the crocheted pillows, the framed photos, it all felt untouched by time. They laughed. They cried. They talked about life. But then Elijah grew serious. "There's something I came here to do," he said, reaching into his blazer and pulling out an envelope. Inside, was the deed to a new house. A fully paid home, not far away, with a garden, updated appliances, and zero bills. It was hers. Hattie's hands trembled. "Elijah, I never needed anything from you. I never asked." "You didn't have to," he said gently. "You already gave me everything." Full circle. Later, he took her outside to meet the real estate agent, who handed her the keys. Her knees buckled. Elijah caught her, steadying her like she had done for him so many times before. Neighbors peeked through windows. A few stepped out onto porches. No one knew exactly what was happening. But everyone felt it. That night, back inside her old home, Hattie sat on the couch beside Elijah. "I used to tell you that life isn't about what you have, but about what you give," she said. Elijah nodded. "You didn't just tell me. You showed me." Outro, the ripple effect. As Elijah stood to leave, Hattie clutched his hand. "You've already repaid me, Elijah. More than you'll ever know." Outside, the stars blinked into the dark sky. Hattie watched his car disappear down the road, then looked at the keys in her hand. It wasn't just about a new house. It was about a love returned. A seed planted in faith, blossoming in ways she never expected. And as she closed her eyes in the quiet of that evening, she whispered a simple prayer. Not for the gift, but for the reminder that love, real love, is never forgotten. Call to action. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing to our channel for more powerful tales of kindness, redemption, and full circle moments. Share this video with someone who could use a little light today. Because the love you give, always finds its way back.